Hello there, welcome back to Max's Writer's Life Vlogs, where I talk about my own process, the way that I do things, and I offer writing advice or inspiration along the way. What have I been up to? Well, for you and your perspective, NaNoWriMo has been going on for a little while, and as I've mentioned, because everyone sent me questions, am I doing a formal NaNoWriMo challenge this month? National Novel Writing Month. 50,000 words in 30 days, averaging to about 1,637 words. Is that even the correct number? I think that's the correct number. I sure hope it is. Otherwise, someone's been out there being like, Max, you can't even math. Well, that's why I write books. Anyhow, I am not doing a formal NaNoWriMo challenge, mostly because I am busy with preparing books for upcoming releases. And also, I'm doing a couple other things. Like, that's the thing, is like, I'm always writing or editing, and setting up a whole month for just writing is a little bit problematic for my work schedule and the fact that, I kind of write books for a living. But, that's what I do. That's me. Don't worry about it. If you're out there doing National Novel Writing Month, awesome. Keep going. I'm going to have some awesome videos coming out relatively soon, talking about more NaNoWriMo advice and answering your NaNoWriMo questions. But, before I go anywhere, let's talk about what I've been doing this week. I mean, if only my hair would behave for like 2 seconds, I can actually shoot a video. So what have I been doing? What have I been up to? What has Max been working on? I've been doing lots of editing. And if Max from the future nails it, the title for this video should be something about writing. And I'll talk about rewriting in a little bit. For me, I've been editing. I've been editing a project that I've been working on for a good while, and we're this close to getting it out, and I'm really excited for that. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, check out my Patreon page. Every week I do a Patreon-only vlog where I spill all the beans and all the secrets, but all that stuff out of the way. I've been doing a lot of editing, and that's why I'm giving editing advice right now, because it's kind of really current to my particular mental state, and it's really fresh on my mind. So it's the sort of thing where, if you have editing questions, I may actually like to take them. So I may actually even do like an answer-a-thon for only editing/revision questions. That would be really cool, especially for like the ending of November or like the start of December. So yeah, let's do that. Yeah, if you have ideas for revision/editing questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll add them to that particular answer-a-thon. That would be really cool, actually. Aside from that, what else have I been doing? Well, I am a giant nerd, and it's one of those things where, like, right now I'm doing nothing but editing, and doing nothing but editing can be counterproductive to the act of creating work, or actually revising that work, because, as I've said a million times, when you read the same thing over and over and over again, you get really close to it, so you need distance. So I decided to give myself distance by picking up a challenge. One of my awesome followers, which ironically I found out about it because Rempy Tom tweeted about it. Rempy is a free engine for creating visual novels, and the guy who created it, Rempy Tom, I don't think his name is Rempy and his last name is Tom. I just think he happens to be someone named Tom who runs the program named Rempy. Anyhow, I assume it's a he because Tom, but they tweeted about this game jam, and if you don't know, a game jam is kind of like NaNoWriMo except for making video games. You do a video game within these constraints, and it's the no-brainer interactive fiction jam, and the goal is to create an interactive piece of fiction, whether it is a visual novel or a choose-your-own-adventure novel or choose-your-own-adventure game, and to create it within 24 working hours. And I spent a little bit just breaking it all down, and it seemed really fun, and I thought, you know what, I've been meaning to get into visual novels, not only playing more of them, as you can see on the channel, I'm playing Destiny Fails as the beta by Amelia Hanks, but also make them, because they're really fun, and it's another way of telling a story, and you know how I love telling stories. So I'm working on that. It was one of those things where I had 9 million ideas, and the challenges are really interesting, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this constraint, and this constraint, and this, and I decided to go for something a little different. I had a really good idea, but then, someone pointed something out, and I was like, that's not anywhere near as fun as this other thing I could be doing. So I decided to go for the most fun thing, because that's the way life should be. Always do the most fun option, kids. And I was working on that. I think I have also been writing. To me, it's secondary to the act of revising at this very moment. Hierarchy table. I think I must have written 3,500 words this last like week or so. It's not a lot. Wow, what a hipster! It's not a lot for what I usually do, but it was interesting because writing a script for a visual novel, it's not the same at all as writing fiction. Primarily because you do more dialogue, less narration, which was something that took me like 45 minutes to wrap my mind around. I have tried my hand at doing visual novels before, not very successfully because it's really time consuming, and for a challenge like this, 24 working hours, you don't have to do it within one day, but 24 hours of working, and you have to narrow down your concept, focus it, and then allocate your time accordingly. Like, I have a lot of time allocated for art assets because I got to do all the art assets. I have a few hours allocated for music, but that's the first chunk of time that's going away the instant I need extra time. Like, if I need 1 more hour for writing, that music budget is jumping out the window, and I'm just gonna pick up some Kevin MacLeod music. But yeah, that's actually what I've been up to. I've been doing a lot of editing on super duper secret projects, and I've been working on this visual novel thing. Part of me wanted to get it done within like 2 weeks so I didn't have to worry about it, but looking at my crazy schedule, I am probably most likely, definitely going to have to spread it out, which is not something I'm keen on. If you know me, I like to get stuff done as soon as possible because like I write books really fast. Like I write books, within a week. That's how fast I write because I am the sort of person who I can feel myself losing the story if I wait on it, so I just come in and just get that done as soon as possible. That's the sort of writer that I am, though, and every writer is different. And talking about writers being different, there's something I want to bring up, and let's move over to the second segment of today's video. On the subject of rewriting, there is a question that I got recently. Now, I don't have the particular question at hand because this is something that I get really often, but the question would usually go a little bit like this. Max, I am in the process of rewriting my novel, and I was wondering if there was an easier way of doing this, because I believe it is really time-consuming to rewrite my story piece by piece, word by word. Now, some of you out there, the most astute ones, may have noticed that there's a little bit of a language silliness in that statement, and I have to come out and say this right now. And again, my advice is merely just my advice, my opinion on what works for me. Don't take it as gospel. But rewriting does not mean to write your entire story from the beginning or to copy it over into a new file. That's what it meant originally when people would have to rewrite it by hand or put it or write it by hand and then put it on a typewriter. That's what it meant back in those days, before word processors, before all the technology that we have right now. Usually attached to that question, I get a question that follows with, Max, do you rewrite your stories? And the answer is, no, I don't rewrite, I revise. Those two words are used interchangeably, but some people take them to heart. Rewrite should mean to write it again, right? And it can, sure. I think there has got to be some writers out there who do that, but everyone I know revises. And why is that? Well, I think it's because we live in an age right now where it's a better application of your time to read through the story and make edits as opposed to writing it over again. I kind of feel, and some of you may be going, well, duh, Max, of course, but I think it's kind of a relic of a different time. Because you need to understand that, like, pretty much, basically, every single one of your English teachers grew up in a time before computers. You need to acknowledge this. Most of your English teachers, if not all of them, probably took cursive or typewriter classes in school. Back, like, and it's like when I say that rewriting is like a relic from a time gone by, we're talking like probably 15 years ago. Is that how long it is? Probably. Well, I mean, because it's weird because 13 years ago back in Mexico we were trained to use computers, so it's weird. It's a really iffy situation, but when you stop focusing on the now and you realize how we came to this point, it kind of makes sense. I mean, it is entirely believable that 15 years ago people were still writing books by hand and then copying them over on a typewriter. It's entirely likely. Even less likely, though, now. Do I think you should rewrite your story word by word, paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter, transcribing it again? I don't think so. I hate to just put it bluntly like this. I feel like that is kind of a waste of time. It's a waste of time in the age that we live in, where you can just activate spell check. You can just read through the story and make edits as you go. Read your story out loud. Have the computer read the story to you so you can hear the indiscrepancies within the narration. There's a lot more tools out there. And I know someone out there is gonna be like, doesn't that make the process of writing artificial? And I'm not sure about that. You have to stop and ask yourself, what is the goal of writing? Why are we doing this? Isn't it ultimately to tell a story? Within that goal, within that mission that we're giving ourselves, doesn't it mean that we should do everything in our power to make that story the best story possible, though? Because when I went to college and I met hundreds of writers, you would meet people, primarily older people kind of set in their ways, who would kind of frown upon using the best tools at your disposal. And I'm talking about things like storing your stories on the cloud, or just even using a word processor, like even things like that. And being a writer right now is kind of awesome because there are so many tools, so many great tools out there. To the extent, as I've said in my stories, and whenever I talk about my past, like when I was at my lowest, I would write on my phone in breaks at work to get more words done, to get more of that story out there, so I could make most of my time, so I could make the most of my time when I was working 10, 12 hours a day. You have options. You have so many options and ways of getting that writing out there and to polish it and to make it better. Remember that we live in a great time and era for being a writer. There are so many tools out there for you to make the act of revision, the act of editing your story to make it better and to tell a better story. There are so many tools out there, and you gotta make the best use of those, I understand there is the idealized way of being a writer where you write by hand and you put it on a typewriter. That's cool, and you can do it if you want, no problem. All I'm saying here is that if there are these tools out there, there's nothing wrong with making use of them. There's nothing wrong with using everything at your disposal to tell the best story possible. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Remember, rewrite does not necessarily mean to write your story again, word by word, paragraph by paragraph. And with that being said, if you have your own thoughts, feedback, or you would like to share what happened to you this week, please feel free to leave it down in the comments below, and I will love to read it. I always, check out people's comments. As for anything else, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Actually, before I go, there's one last thing I gotta do. And about a year ago, I did a Writer's Life vlog. It was either a Writer's Life vlog or it was a NaNoWriMo care package. I forget what. And it was right after Halloween, and it was really funny because I was eating candy, Halloween candy, because you always have extra Halloween candy. Like, I've never had an experience where like we ran out of candy. That's just never happened to me. And in the video, I took a bite out of a Kit Kat as opposed to splitting it in two, and someone in the comments was freaking out. And for that person,